Hey there, this is Tara Harvey of True North Intercultural. I wanted to hop on video quickly to talk to you about one of the books that I just finished reading. I've been reading a lot. Well, I always read a lot, but I've been reading a lot more, and especially things related to intercultural learning lately because I'm working on two different writing projects. And I love a good recommendation, so I thought some of you might like to hear more about the books I've been reading, who I would recommend them for, what I would recommend them for, etc. So I wanted to start with this book that I just finished. It's called Teaching Interculturally, a Framework for Integrating Disciplinary Knowledge and Intercultural Development. And it's by Amy Lee with Robert Pock, Mary Catherine O'Brien, and Catherine Solheim. I will put the link in the below. But basically, they're all folks at the University of Minnesota. I did not know that when I chose it, so I'm not being biased as a University of Minnesota PhD alum. But the this book, and it's a thin little book, it's not very thick. It focuses really on intercultural pedagogy and thinking about how to integrate more inclusive intercultural learning into courses. So it's specifically targeted, I would say, to faculty. And just so you get a better understanding of what they mean when I say intercultural pedagogy. So, for example, they say higher education as a whole has a responsibility to help students learn how to approach, understand, and dialogue about complex issues and across diverse perspectives. Intercultural pedagogy offers a way to think about how your courses and teaching can support that endeavor in ways that are responsive to other demands on the course. Intercultural pedagogy is not an add on to an existing course, but a way of thinking about how, what, and why you teach in ways that invite students to develop their capacity to effectively engage others and to undertake critical thinking. So, one of the things they talk about is that most faculty are not really trained in teaching, they're trained in their disciplinary areas. And so the point of this book is to help faculty really think about how to not just teach in more effective ways, but how to do that with an intercultural pedagogical lens. And furthermore, they define intercultural pedagogy as the commitment, not just the desire, to make intentional, informed decisions that enable our courses to engage and support diversity and inclusion. Teachers must be willing to develop the capacity to do that and commit to continuously reflecting on for whom and to what extent course design, activities, and instruction are achieving these outcomes. So, in my opinion, this is what it's really focusing on is kind of culturally responsive teaching, as well as using diversity in the classrooms to help all students learn and grow. The best part of this book, in my opinion, is the case studies. So, Bob and Catherine, I think, are two professors who their case studies are woven throughout the book, primarily through two chapters that they each write, but also in other areas. Bob is a professor of history, and Catherine, I think it is a professor of family studies. And so, in part of the book, they reflect on really their own cultural identity and how becoming more self aware around their own cultural identity has helped them think about and reflect on their teaching. So, how is their teaching, how is their approach to education culturally influenced? They reflect on that. And then the chapter that they each write really focuses on them walking us through integrating an intercultural pedagogy into their courses. So they obviously both participated in the internationalizing the curriculum program at the University of Minnesota, probably with this Amy Lee. But they really walk us through an iterative process of for example, with Bob, taking his history course over time, really integrating more intercultural learning objectives, then thinking about removing some of the content and teaching in a way that helps achieve those objectives more effectively. And many of those objectives have to do with integrating diverse teams and getting students to work on diverse teams, see different perspectives, etc. So they're not focused a lot on teaching intercultural content per se, but on making their courses more of an intercultural developmental learning opportunity. So personally, I think this book would be great to use with faculty in particular, maybe to have some sort of a faculty group that is working on integrating intercultural pedagogy into their courses, going through this together over time, guided by somebody maybe from the Center for Teaching and Learning, for example. If you are from a Center for Teaching and Learning and you have not read this book, strongly recommend it. Have it for your office. But the one thing I would say is that Bob and Catherine are obviously pretty interculturally developed faculty. And just by virtue of being faculty, in my experience, that does not mean you are necessarily interculturally developed. So the one thing I would keep in mind is that faculty need to focus on their own intercultural development to a certain extent before they can really do this kind of work of getting into the intercultural pedagogy of their course. So just keep that in mind, but otherwise I think this is a great book to use with faculty. It might not be as useful for administrators, particularly if you're not working directly with faculty. But I definitely recommend this book. I will be referring to it quite a bit in the future. I'm curious whether or not you appreciate this book synopsis. As I said, I'm reading a lot of books these days, and I'm happy to share with you kind of my thoughts on those books if you all think it would be useful. But definitely don't want to waste my time if you don't think it's useful. So let me know what you think and if you'd like to hear more. Bye-bye.